Today. Welcome to the webinar. We're joined, of course, by Keith from Simpliworks. These guys have an awesome ad tool, which you should definitely check out. And today, Keith's going to walk us through doing a review of the marketplace you're selling in, reviewing the products that you're selling there, and you know, how you can better understand where you should be focusing your efforts. So over to you, Keith.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the introduction, Richard. And I hope you get to feeling better real soon.
Thank you. For anyone who wasn't here at the beginning, I do have COVID, so.
But he's trucking on through and still getting this set up for us. So thank you again, Richard. So I'm going to share my screen and we can get started, everybody. Can everybody see my screen all right? Yeah, so today we'll be talking about understanding your market and scaling your brand. And really, for me, it's all about like actually being able to see your market, understanding. It's all about seeing your market, understanding your current positioning, and then in that understanding how to learn from the leaders in your space to create the best structure for your product and how it can actually perform in the market. Now, who am I to really be telling you this and like talking to you about this? Well, I'm Keith Jenkerson. I'm head of operations over here at Simpliworks. And in this experience at Simpliworks, we've launched thousands of campaigns for hundreds of products. And we've helped companies get on the platform. We've helped companies scale on the platform over a few years. And we've helped some of them really just sprint from launching a new product to fully selling their Amazon business. So we've kind of seen the gambit, both from resellers to full manufacturing arbitrage, to private label brands, to full-on mom and pop shops growing online. And with many of these companies, a lot of these clients like have a very clear idea of what success looks like for them, and those clients are a dream to work with. They know what metrics they need to hit. They know what levers they need to pull in order to succeed. And there's other clients who didn't really do a lot of product research. They're taking a really big bet and just trying to find a way to be successful online. While that success may be a little bit vague, then their performance and the way they back into their performance isn't always clear, resulting in them not, one, knowing how to put up the right kind of budget, two, being able to evaluate if the content they have going forward is actually high quality and can support the kind of growth they want. And today, I'm really hoping to put you all in the former group, making you all an educated, not customer, but an educated seller on Amazon, allowing you to, one, push any partners you have to hitting your metrics to hit your growth goals. And also, so you know, like, okay, this is a good listing, this is a good plan, and this is how I can move into this space. So yeah, regular market analyses are incredibly important, and we use these a lot at Simpliworks. First off, it really helps define your product potential, knowing what you need to perform, whether it's like number of reviews, number of daily sales, and also what is the overall market cap in your space. I've had some clients come in, they had a really great product, but their goals were to sell like $50,000 a month, when in reality, on a monthly basis, there's maybe only $80,000 in that market to really, like, there's only $80,000 of sales a month in that market. So hitting 50,000 in sales, well, it's possible, you'd have to be completely winning the market. And we'll dive into how you can kind of see, okay, what steps you need to take in order to do that. And knowing your product potential and the performance needs that you have really allows you, one, to direct your vendors logically, but also develop an SEO and advertising strategy. So once you know how big your market is, once you know who your real competitors are and how you stack up against them, you can actually walk that back into clear metrics on, okay, I need this many sales, I need to hit this many reviews, and I'm going to need to start off with this budget, work my way up to this budget over time. But a lot of sellers kind of view all the activities they do to get selling online as disparate or separate processes that don't necessarily feed into each other. So a lot of sellers, they do the whole market research thing where they're finding their niche, they're understanding their niche, they're seeing what potential value they can generate from that product. And then completely separately, they're doing keyword research and creating their listing. And if that doesn't perform the way they want, then now they're circling back to listing optimization. When in reality, all these activities go hand in hand and create a cohesive strategy that allows you to be clear from the very beginning on where you want your product to be and how you want to get there. Now, in order to do proper planning and getting your SEO right, you really have to start off with a market analysis. But once you have that, it allows you to, one, structure your advertising. So very clearly, you know, okay, I want to advertise for these specific targets. And it also reduces your cost per click because of the way Amazon is structured. Your relevancy is directly related to what you're advertising against and what your SEO is for your listing. Yeah, and so now we're going to dive into an example of a market analysis and how we get that. And the core things we're going to focus on is your product versus the top 100 products, understanding your sales goals and how to back those into budget and how those can help direct your vendors. But before we hop into that, the key metrics that we're going to focus on in the market analysis are sales, both by dollars and by units. The reason why that is important is different winners in the market can have a different goal. Some are really just pushing to move as many units as possible, and sometimes the price competitiveness there is really high. So you really might want to focus on the ones that are doing the most revenue, not necessarily by volume. Average price, again, back to price competitiveness, bestsellers ranking, and review count. These two metrics allow you to track against your performance and see how you're moving towards your goals over time. And we'll see that in the upcoming report. So in order to get started, really you hop onto an Amazon listing and you scroll down to the product information, the technical details, and then you would select this subcategory right here. And for this product, I'm actually going to share my screen again, and we're going to kind of do a quick walkthrough of that.
I have a quick question for you at this stage.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned the number of reviews being part of the strategy. Should people be setting targets for a number of reviews at certain intervals? Because
no, absolutely. That's a great question. And yeah, sorry. Please.
I was going to say, because there's no hard and fast way to control it, right?
No, absolutely. But there are general targets that you can expect to hit. So on Amazon, for example, an average is you're getting reviews at a rate of 1 to 2% of actual units moved. But if you're good about following up, you can move that all the way up to 5%. And so if you're, and we'll circle back to that real quick. I'm going to share my screen and want to walk to where we're actually pulling this data from.
Yeah, I don't want to jump ahead. So yeah.
No, I appreciate the questions. Yeah. Please, yeah. So I have a few tools downloaded in here. You guys may or may not be familiar, and we'll talk about some of those tool options, of course. But in looking at this listing, this is obviously a very good listing, has almost 5,000 reviews, definitely has a lot of sales going on here and some decent SEO. Off the bat, I would say that it's not fully optimized. It may be optimized enough for its space, but there are some clear things that can be enhanced around the title, around the bullet points. You're not taking advantage of all the space Amazon really offers. But let's say you're researching getting into this space and you're researching this product. You would scroll all the way down the product information, select this subcategory, and then from here, you would pull, whether you're using Jungle Scout, Helium 10, or whichever other market research tool you may be using, pull the sales data and the rank data and the review data for all the top 100 products in this space. The reason I like to look at the top 100 is for a lot of sellers, that is an achievable place to get, is in the top 100. And obviously the real sales volume that's coming in is going to be in the top 10. So you really want to be focusing in there. How are they ranking? What does their SEO look like? And what activities are they doing to grow there? So once you have this pooled with whatever tool you're using, then stop sharing this. Yep. You're going to be organizing the data from top performing to lowest performing, and then compare the key metrics and begin to plan. So organizing the data from top to bottom, obviously that's so you can look at the top performers, what's needed for them. And then we will be able to use that data to back into, okay, this is how I want to perform and this is how we want to rank. So I'm going to share a report that we have created for this and looking at this exact way. Ours is structured, of course, because we do this a lot and we make this really easy for our clients. So for this right line gear doorstep, in this space, we've calculated from the top 100 products, there's about $800,000 in monthly sales available. In that, we would want to compare the product that we're planning on selling or currently selling directly with the top 100, and then also directly with the top performer. This just gives us an idea of where we need to be, what kind of performance we can expect in order to hit some of our average sales goals. So here you can see our BSR is well above the average for the top 100. Same thing with the review count. Our price is relatively in line, and we can see that more when we dive into some of these other metrics here. But if I take the #1 seller who's doing about $190,000 a month, and I go and look them up on Amazon, what I'm going to see is they have nearly 6,000 reviews, and they're doing double the sales of us, along with their BSR. Yes.
We do have a quick question here in the questions.
Great.
I understand that Jungle Scout and Helium 10 has different data, which is more accurate.
I love that question. I hate to disparage any other tools out there, but Jungle Scout definitely has more accurate sales data than Helium 10. And even if you keep up with some of the releases Helium 10 does, they won't say that directly, but they will say that their data is more of an estimation, whereas Jungle Scout uses BSR, but also backs into more accurate data a lot more effectively.
Awesome.
Absolutely. So thank you for that question, and please feel free to keep them coming. Okay, so the sales rank for this currently is about 3,800 versus our product, which is sitting at about 9,000. We're doing about $90,000 a month in total sales. Let's say I want to do 180. So how do I back into what is needed to perform at that level? So I just threw together a quick, short document. We're trying to keep it simple here on what that kind of looks like. So if we look at our current metrics around sales, about $92,000, BSR about 9,200, which makes it so our sales per day are about 3,000 or about 68 units. If our goal is to be at 180,000, which of course is extremely ambitious for the time period that we've been planning on, then our BSR truly would be something around that 2,500 to 3,000 range, like the top performer, which would result in about 6,000 sales per day and 140 units moving per day. Now, to achieve the same reviews that top performer is doing, we would have to add in another 1,100 reviews. And in order to do that, that's almost $1 million of additional sales. That's not going to come overnight. And this is really just to show how you can approach the thinking about finding your success on the platform. It's not overnight. It's not like all these gurus and everything, we're going to make all this money in 90 days. Yes, you can find some success there, but you need to understand how to break out your goals into achievable milestones. So this wouldn't be like, let's hit 6,000 reviews in 3 months, oh, let's go. That's literally not going to be possible in this market. I'll just take all the sales every month for almost 3 months in order to do that. And that's not the case. So this is just more of a level setting. But right here around the sales and the BSR and all of that, we can back that into advertising spend and a anticipated budget as you hit your growth target. And this is a free tool that I'm going to share at the end of this. So this is our Simpliworks advertising calculator. And in this, you really put in your daily sales goal, your target ROAS at that date, and your current daily ad spend. So $400 to be making, $400 a day to be making about $3,000 a day is a pretty decent ROAS just off advertising itself. And if we're backing into, okay, what budget would I need at the end of 90 days if I'm achieving 140 sales a day? Well, really, we would be expecting you to be spending over $1,000 a day. And that's still like a good ROAS, but this helps give you a clear path on how you need to get there. So this isn't saying increase your budget to $1,000 immediately. What it's saying is as your daily sales go up from 68 to 75 to 85, then you're able to know how much more budget you're willing to increase that on. So this kind of perspective just allows you to better, one, gauge your personal performance if you're managing your product, or it allows you to put educated, logical KPIs around a partner who is managing your advertising for you. So you can come to them with very clear goals, very clear ways of tracking against. And so there's no miscommunication on, oh, well, we're doing a 2.5x ROAS or we're doing a 3x ROAS, like we're like moving the right direction, but it's more tangible than that. You can give them actual like metrics to work with, and you can measure them against that.
We have another question. Sorry to interrupt. How many reviews should a product have before you start doing SEO or PPC to compete with the top 100 sellers?
Absolutely. So SEO, you should start from day one. PPC, I would recommend generally having at least 10 reviews, but ideally 20 to 25 reviews before you really start investing in it. And the reason I say that is it always comes back to the question of relevancy. And later on in the presentation, we talk a little more about this. We've kind of gone into this a little bit more. Just skip some of this. So perfect. We really need to cater to the algorithm, and whether we're calling it Amazon A9 or A10, there have been some changes as of late into what and how you get recommended well and how you perform well in the eyes of Amazon. So as far as getting started on SEO should be your primary goal when you're putting a product on the platform. Just getting your product on the platform is not the end of that journey. It is the very beginning. In that, looking at your top competitors, analyzing what keywords they're ranking for, and then identifying those themes, and then working those themes into your listing in a logical way, set yourself up for success. The reviews 10 to 25 to get started on ads is ideal, and that's what we typically recommend. We can really get rocking and rolling with 10 reviews, even though being retail ready is typically something closer to 15 to 25. I hope that answers your question.
Awesome. Yeah, it does. I'm sorry, this was a two-parter, actually. Is it worth enrolling in Amazon's Vine program to get reviews?
I typically recommend it. And the reason for that is for sellers who may not have an existing network. Let's say you're building your brand directly on Amazon for Amazon. You may not have a network that you can tap into to get reviews. You may not have an existing pool of customers or supporting friends that can do that. The Vine program can get you kind of started. It is, of course, can be risky. Like people who are getting free stuff actually are the hardest judges of a product because they haven't used their own personal money to actually buy it. And so, yes, I would highly recommend it, but I would recommend it in conjunction with an email campaign and social posts and things of that nature to really get the ball rolling. And there's also there's buyers groups and the likes there. One thing with those groups that I want to keep in mind is that you should never be offering money in exchange for reviews to any of those groups. You should just be promoting your product through them, getting legitimate purchases and all of that. If you are blatantly offering funds for a review Amazon can very much track that and will stymie your growth, or even in some instances kick your product off the platform if you start messing around with reviews or collecting reviews in that way. As you're getting your initial sales, it's extremely important to be consistent about requesting those reviews. And Amazon will automatically request them within 30 days. We recommend requesting them almost as soon as that individual gets the product. Of course, you want to stay top of mind. You want to give them the right experience, but also you need that review in as quickly as possible, especially in the early days. And then
that makes sense.
Angel period. Yes. Yeah. I'm going to get back to Arvin's question, and I want to see if I have a really good product to launch. That's a good question, Arvin. As far as like what percentage you could assume as your potential sales. So let's circle back to our example and we can kind of answer that. So on a given product launch, you can see a really wide range of performance. I would highly recommend already having some kind of audience backing you, and it doesn't have to be big. I've seen brands with like literally 150 people that like their Facebook page go from $0 to 30K a month on the platform within 60 days. And that of course like grew over time. But like it doesn't take a lot to start. You just need that initial early adopter group to really get going. Okay. So one of the other key metrics we like to keep track of is when these listings were added onto the platform. So Arvin, to your question about like what you can expect from your initial launch, that question is going to be tied to how old are these listings on the platform. In some spaces, especially like journals, for example, you're seeing people launching new products almost every year because they want something fresh. That specific market is always recycling. And the length of time of products is oftentimes the length of time a product has been on the platform is oftentimes a leading indicator of its like success or not. Okay, this isn't loading here. But what we can do is take the lowest performing product or one of the lower performing products and look at the number of reviews that they have to get in and see, okay, on your initial launch, how can you best like position against them? This is not wanting to load right now. Okay, apologies. Best percentage from potential sales. Honestly, Arvin, I'm gonna have to get back to you on that question. First few months of launching, really, your goal should be able to have like profitable advertising within 60 days. And that's going to be from a mix of outside of Amazon activities with inside of Amazon advertising and positioning. And then Scott, thanks so much. An angel period. Yes. So an angel period, and this is something that people have kind of debated within the Amazon space for a while. It's typically the first 14 days of having your product on the platform. This is when Amazon is trying to discover where best to place you. During that angel period and during that initial launch, your best way of teaching Amazon where to put your product is going to be through product ads and of course successful like general keyword targeting. Product ads are really effective at showing Amazon what you want to be recommended next to. And in that, you're going to want to target products that are well within your price range, because if you're perform poorly against a product that's like winning your market, then you're actually telling Amazon that you're not as relevant to the market by not performing well. So you need to put your product next to those that are within your price range, those that have a very similar, if not exactly the same use case as you, and those that are targeting a similar audience. And you can kind of tell that whether like from the visuals that are associated with it or the way that it's actually SEO-wise communicated. Thank you. Understanding my potential sales also help me understand the number of inventory I should order. Yeah, Arvin, absolutely. So potential sales and how you can back into your budget and all of that will absolutely help you plan for inventory. Initially, though, you will absolutely have to take an initial bet on how much you want to get. And typically, we recommend between 500 to 1,000 units to get started. And from there, you'll have a good idea once those sell through on what your typical rate is going to be and how you can plan moving forward. Oh, cool. So as far as the Amazon A9 algorithm goes, it has changed as of late and is putting a higher focus on keyword relevancy. The reason why this is important is the Amazon A9 algorithm is their recommendation algorithm. So when a customer searches and they're served up all these results, that is actually an experience that is a mixture of the A9 algorithm's recommendations and the advertising that is being pushed against that term. That the interaction of those two systems actually does create a more positive customer shopping experience, which is why we are able to grow and succeed on the platform as advertisers. And that's also why Amazon doesn't just recommend the exact product to every customer. And you'll see in some spaces where there's not a lot of advertising, the search experience is really bad. And one of those spaces, for example, is like Gundam models or little the hobbyist model set building has very, very, very poor advertising. And also means that it's very hard to actually find the things that you're looking for. I only know this because we had some former customers in there. But yeah, so going from a market analysis to listing optimization, this is really where I want to focus a good amount of our time. So you're going to take these top performers that you think that you're very similar to. You're going to do a reverse ASIN search, whether it's, again, Helium 10 or Jungle Scout or whichever tools that you use with that. Compare your product to the top product and then collapse those keywords into themes. Now, the reason why we do that goes back to pandering to the algorithm. Amazon's A9 algorithm does not look at every keyword as a standalone place for your product to appear. And we're always circle back to a protein powder example. So if I'm bidding and performing on protein powder and bidding and performing on protein powder whey or chocolate protein powder whey, all of those words and my performance on them does affect how I rank on the core theme of protein powder. And Amazon's algorithm does view it like that. So if you're not able to perform on a given term, you can try to drive performance on keywords that are similar to it. And over time, you will organically rank on the true target. Now, how do we look at this? Well, there's a lot of different tools, and I can share those afterwards as well, that allow you to, once you do your reverse ASIN search, pull and put all those keywords into themes by frequency and by a brief semantic analysis. Those tools are free, super easy to use, and then you can reapply the data from whichever tool you use back onto the theme themselves. So I'm going to share the way we do that in our report. And again, these reports are what all of our customers get every 3 months, because that's typically the planning cycle and the optimization cycle we want to do with our listings until there's a higher throughput of advertising data to optimize the listing on a more monthly basis. Okay, so taking our listing, the Right Line Gear Moki Doorstep, against a top competitor, we can see that organically we're ranking on about 500 of the 1,700 keywords that we've pooled and analyzed. Now, that's not too far away from the 550 of the top competitor, but the big difference is in search volume. Organically, they have much, much, much higher relevancy to the keyword pool that we're considering. And this right here just lists out all the different keywords, the search volume associated, and their organic rank and sponsored rank over time. Now, this is great information, somewhat useful. This is the keyword pool itself, but this isn't where I would fully start your analysis. This just gives you an idea of where to get going. Where you really want to focus in on is this theme analysis. I know not a lot of other people talk about thematic analysis, but I find it makes your focus very clear on where you want to be, what keywords you need to consider, and how to incorporate those into your listing. So in looking at this, We can here I'll sort by keyword count. We can, so this doorstep, car doorstep thing is what's featured on Shark Tank. So that's why Shark Tank is a theme that's being shown here. We can see running board, side step, doorstep, or truck. All those are some themes that are kind of being identified and pulled out. And so what we would do here is really see, okay, which of these do I have the most like ranking on, or which of these do my competitors have the most like ranks on the keywords that are actually associated with them. And from there, you would select which themes that you really want to push for this quarter. And in that selection, you would then incorporate keywords from those themes into your listing itself. And then you would create campaigns around those themes to drive rank. Now, the reason why like the market analysis goes down into the keywords, goes down to the listing, into the ads, is overall that's going to drive down CPC and increase your keyword relevancy, which is one of the bigger recent changes on the Amazon platform. Okay. I'll circle back here. Now, identifying what themes are most relevant, you know your product, you know where you want to rank, and that is where you should focus on. Customers, I believe it's as much as 15% of all searches on a daily basis are searched for the first time. So it's not so much about search volume when you're trying to identify what's most relevant. It truly is where you think your product will, it makes the most sense for your product to exist. Now, you're going to order them by importance, and then when you're ordering them by importance, that would be something closer to search volume. But of course, if there's anything that has a really high search volume but isn't fully relevant to your product, that is something you would want to pull out and put into your back-end search term, something that you don't really want a customer to read, but you still want to be able to rank on it. And we'll talk about the waterfall here in a second. But the key practices in leveraging your market research into this thematic analysis is keyword hinging, a waterfall approach, and then of course just overall listing best practices. So keyword hinging is probably the most interesting item, and I hope many of you have heard of it. For me, it's relatively not new, but it's been fully fleshed out more recently. So I'm going to walk through an example first. Knife sharpener, kitchen knife sharpener, steel kitchen knife sharpener, stainless steel kitchen knife sharpener. Now, what this does is allows you to rank on 4 key phrases in really like one 5-word phrase. And so if you have this in your listing or in a bullet point, you can actually hit multiple targets without having knife sharpener and all of those other variations listed out all separately. So it allows you to kind of collapse your SEO into a more effective single phrase. And for our product example, our key theme is step gadget, but Ram truck is also a huge theme, and I want to incorporate that. And 4-door, of course, is a big theme because these are specifically for putting on the inside of your door and stepping up to access your roof. So in this case, step gadget with 4-door, step gadget 4-door, truck, step gadget 4-door, and then finally Ram truck, step gadget 4-door. It captures 4 key items that we're trying to push without listing out 4 completely separate themes. Let me see what question. How do you differentiate keyword versus theme? Can I do this using reverse ASIN? Yes, sorry, I'm gonna circle back to a question from Arvin. So Arvin, there's, I'll drop some links in the chat around pulling these themes out. Themes for us are really about semantic frequency. So how often these words are, these specific phrases are coming up in your keyword research. A lot of keywords are produced on Amazon whenever somebody actually bids on something, and Amazon will then recommend keywords they believe are relevant to all competing products in that space. So reverse ASIN search returns you what Amazon thinks are most relevant to those products. And then doing a thematic analysis, or really a keyword frequency analysis or phrase frequency analysis, allows you to take advantage of that mechanism on Amazon. And there's super simple tools like word counter, and you can filter by specific like number of words in the phrase. Okay, so the waterfall approach, is exactly what it sounds like. We're going to be listing the keywords by importance, and any targets that you don't want customers to read are going to be added. You should add to the backend search terms. And all the most important targets, the ones where you have to rank on and the most relevant for you, always put in your title. This is so important, not just to optimize your bullets or anything else, but the title is still the most effective way to drive your SEO and enhance the performance of your advertising. And I have some sample keyword or title suggestions that we have, and we can share those after the webinar as well. Now, listing best practices, hopefully you guys are all very familiar with these. Title, of course, 150 to 200 characters, no symbols. And this is where I'll briefly share our kind of approach. Okay. So here we had a customer that had a massage oil product, but if we're trying to do an initial ranking, like if it's a product launch, I would really focus more on seed keywords or product features as a structure for my title. Until my brand is much more well known and I can drive a lot of performance with my brand, I'm not going to necessarily put my brand name first, because I'm really going to want to rank on step gadget, Ram truck step gadget, something along those lines, rather than I get, in this case, right line doorstep. Like that won't be my key focus. So this is just some food for thought on strategies around titles and the ways of incorporating bullet points, because a lot of people think that just having a well-descriptive title is the right way to go. While it does need to be readable, there is also a very core SEO function to every single place you can add copy on Amazon. Okay. Now, 5+ bullet points. We saw even with this product that's doing $90,000 a month, that they are not fully implementing these best practices. First, like their bullets are capitalized, but they're not using all 5 bullets. And some people use 6. They're absolutely not using all the space that Amazon provides. And we can also see that when comparing them to the top performer in this space, that they are ranking on more words and more words with much higher search volume. So this, and Arvin, to your question earlier, this SEO structure does impact you from day one and can absolutely push your performance more than just simply running ads or pushing outside traffic or all those other activities. Okay. Now I'm going to finish running through this and we'll get back to all questions. So once we've done all the thematic analysis, incorporated into our listing, this whole process really does make advertising a lot easier to an extent. You still have to do all the management of it. You still have to create the campaigns and do all of that. But you know exactly where and what you want to run ads against. You can track your performance against these themes. And depending on which themes are working, you can actually direct your spend that direction. A lot of sellers, especially when they're getting started with advertising, it can feel like information overload, trying to determine where they should advertise, how much they should spend, all of that. And this process really does walk you into a very clear idea of where, how much, and how to react to your performance over time. You still have to be on top of the management, you still have to be on top of the growth itself, but there's a lot less questions and, okay, this campaign isn't working or these sets of campaigns aren't working. I need to go back and do a bunch more research. This process cuts out all that research and gives you a very clear focus on how to move forward. And so key takeaways from this should be regular market analyses can direct and drive your Amazon efforts. And you're already doing the activities that you need to in order to focus and deliver a very clear process to the way that you're attacking Amazon advertising and your listing. And that planning and tracking are key to finding success on the platform, whether it's working with vendors or doing it as a one-man show. Your ability to track against KPIs is going to deliver a better, more thoughtful experience with a lot less ambiguity in how you take steps forward. And before we hop into more questions, as far as announcements goes, everybody here can get a free Stay in the Market report. and we'll happily walk you through those. I have a link and a QR code right after this that will direct you to where you can make that request. And we're also extending our Amazon or our Prime Day deal and offering 1 free month of Simpliworks Pro membership to everybody here. Okay, now that's the QR code. I would love to take any and all questions. But thank you all so much for the time.
Yeah, we do have a few questions here. Thank you very much for that, Keith. That was an awesome presentation. I hope everyone learned as much as I did, especially the theme stuff. I had no idea about that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna dive into these.
Yeah, questions. Do you want me to read them for you? I can actually do something then.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
So, is it best to use Amazon keyword recommendations when you're searching for items in your PPC listing optimization, or is the reverse ASIN always best because it has data such as search volume? I find it too much data to work on. I need to look at ranking. I need to look at ranking competitors and search volume.
Yeah, Arvin, that's a really great question. In my opinion, you really should be looking at both. But again, I understand the information overload component. And so when you're working through, whether it's a market research, pulling together your themes, or selecting what's going to be in your listing, you need to have a very clear question that you're trying to answer before just trying to take in all this data at once. So like for me, when I'm putting together the themes, rank data doesn't necessarily matter to me as much. I really just want to put these into their themes. So in that case, I can take the Amazon recommended keyword recommendations, and I can take the reverse ASIN search and put together those themes. Once I have those themes and identify which one of those I really want my product to focus on, now I can go back and in a much more limited scope focus on the rankings of my competitors there. See, okay, is there a gap against the top competitor that I can incorporate into my SEO or advertising, rather than trying to look at everything and make a decision with an inordinate amount of data. I hope that helps answer your question. If not, I would love to clarify further.
All right. Cool. Thank you for that. Is A+ content also indexed in the A9 algorithm, or whatever algorithm is now being used?
Yeah, A9, A10, it's all the same thing in reality. So yes, A+ content / product description is indexed. They give you the ability to add up to 2,000 characters, but in many of the things I've read and the people I've worked with, they really don't recommend going past about 1,500 or even in some cases 1,250, as Amazon will only read and crawl up to a certain point on the listing. So A+ content and product description should both be used to the fullest extent they can. And in A+ content, one thing a lot of sellers neglect is the alt image text. That is a very easy way to add further value to your listing and further SEO that Amazon can analyze. And it's really great for people who may be vision impaired, as they'll be navigating the platform through recommendations more centered around what is being described on these images. So alt image text and trying to target somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500 characters in the product description / A+. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Anonymous. Okay, another one from Marvin. How long is the honeymoon period, and will it affect ranking and PPC? How can I take advantage of this? You mentioned 14 days, didn't you?
Yes, yeah, it's 14 days for sure. And this is like the point when Amazon is going to give you the biggest benefit of your growth. So like if you don't take advantage of it and you're in, let's say your BSR is 250,000 or 500,000, really anything over 100, it stops mattering as much. But Amazon is going to give you a much bigger weight to every sale and give you more opportunities to perform. And so during this period, outside traffic can be huge, because outside traffic can be an indicator to Amazon of success. Now, strategies like search, find, buy, there's questions to their viability at this point, but Amazon does allow you to bring in outside traffic as a brand, and that can track against specific search terms, but also just generally towards your product. As far as ranking in the first 30 days, really first 14 days, we can see big advantages. I've seen a product go from, I think it was 350,000 to by the end of month one, they were like sub 30,000 and then continue to climb from there. So the first 14 days do absolutely matter, but if you miss out on your honeymoon period, it's not the end of the world. It's just that this is an advantage you don't get to take full advantage of. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. A couple more quick ones. We have one more about the A+ content using alt text on images, but you answered that one already. Thank you for the question. Someone told me that I should not make my titles and bullet points too long, as it's really not helping customers or help conversion. Is that true?
So I've heard this thought or idea in a few different variations, and like people complain about keyword stuffing and things of that like, and like, yeah, keyword stuffing is not advised. That's not at all what I tell people to do. But what I do tell them to do is incorporate keywords in a readable way that actually does help the customer know your product a little bit better and also helps Amazon know your product. Yes, you don't want a title that's too long, and ideally 150 to 200 characters is the perfect length. But I've seen products that don't have a long title or trying to be very to the point, and I don't know what they're for. So keyword stuffing paired with readability, more often than not, is going to allow the customer to know more about your product than some of the titles that are very much cut and dry. As far as bullet points, you absolutely should be targeting 150 to 200 characters, or really 200 to even a little bit higher there. You can pack in a lot of information and a lot of good keywords in a way that is extremely readable. I would still recommend going for those minimum targets, because if you're not taking advantage of SEO, someone else is, and they're going to be ranking more easily, and they're going to be getting a lower cost per click than you. And it's a marketplace. You need to perform well. You need to take advantage of that real estate. I guess on that note, one thing I would say less than 5% of the time see people take advantage of is subject matter. So subject matter, while it has decreased in importance over the years, that is 5 spots with 50 characters that gives you the opportunity to tell Amazon what are the use cases for this product. I highly, highly recommend it. I very infrequently ever see anybody in the marketplace taking advantage of that. But yeah, hope that helps.
Awesome. Thank you, Anonymous. Another one, should I compete using pricing? Should I start offering too low?
So whenever we start talking about pricing, I was thinking about buying triggers. And in thinking about pricing, you should think about buying triggers in your experience on the platform. So when you're scrolling through, what catches your eye? Is it the $10.99 product, or is it the $25.99 product that's marked down to $10.99? Which product are you going to see as more valuable in that moment? It's probably going to be one that's marked down a whole bunch. So typically, I always recommend when getting started, put your real price on your product. Put the actual price that you want to sell it on there, and run a sale against that. And then in that sale, take a portion of what you are okay with giving away for those initial sales and put it into a coupon. This creates a layer of buying triggers. One, you get that like red X, like new price, but then you also get that little green box for the coupon. These are all buying triggers that can stack up that actually really help drive the performance of the customer to actually at least add your product to their cart. So I recommend stacking those incentives rather than just putting your product at a low price, because over time, working your price back up, it can have some negative effects with Amazon. So if you're getting too aggressive with your price on Amazon, they will stop recommending you, because Amazon wants to recommend a variety of products in a search term, both high and low price. And once they understand where you fit in that, they want to stick with that. So yeah, I hope that answers.
Cool, perfect. Yeah, that does answer it. And we have another one off the back of that. Yes, I'm a little worried the Amazon pricing policy, if I start too low. That's what you mentioned there, right? About the price raises having an effect in the long term.
Yeah,
thank
absolutely.
you for those questions. And the last one, unless there's any more come in, this is it. So get your questions in now. Is the search, find, buy strategy still safe to do these days?
I would say it's ill-advised and not fully needed anymore. Amazon is offering a lot of programs for brands around the brand referral program. You can also share affiliate links now and create promotions specifically for social media. All of those items are going to be more effective at generally boosting your BSR and showing Amazon that this is a good product and should be recommended. Now, is it going to help you on a single targeted search term? No, it's not. But performing well generally on the platform will help your relevancy and help your Amazon's ability to promote you overall.
Perfect. Thank you for the question. And we had another one come in. When you do PPC, is it best to start with exact match, or should I do auto match campaigns, which always make me lose money?
Absolutely. I definitely hear that, especially with some newer products. So I don't know where your product is at in its life cycle, but if you're finding that with Amazon automatic campaigns, you're consistently losing money. So generally, Amazon's target for those campaigns is about a 10% conversion. Now, for some people that's profitable, for some people that's not, but that's generally what they're targeting. If they're not hitting that for you, that just directly should show you Amazon doesn't know your product yet. But you still do know that your product. And so if you go through and do this research process in whichever way that you think makes the most sense for you, finding the targets you want to hit, but also finding the competitors you want to get ranked next to is where you should really focus. So I would say a mix of a small set of phrase campaigns with a small set of exact campaigns paired with heavier focus on product targeting would be the best route forward. And if you're still going to run an auto campaign, I would kill the close match and loose match targets and focus more on substitutes and complements. That would be my recommendation if auto campaigns are just losing you money. That means you still have to educate Amazon.
Perfect. Awesome. Good answer. I didn't even understand half of what you said. That's how I knew it was good. Thank you very much for the question there. Any other questions at all? I'll give you a few seconds here. No, it looks like that is it. So, Keith, thank you very much for joining us. That was super, super informative. I hope everyone took a lot away from that. We had some awesome questions, which I think just added to it. So thank you for everyone who asked those questions. And yeah, Keith is very clearly a pro. So go on, check out Simpliworks and get him to make one of those lovely reports for you, and yeah, see how they can help you grow your brand. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for the presentation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the time, Richard, and thank you everybody who joined. Please come check out our website. We'll give you a market analysis, and we'll help you to do what we just described in this process continuously every 3 months. So thank you all, and hope you guys have a good day. I hope, Richard, I hope you feel better soon.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm going to go to bed.
Good, man. Bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.